of Denver Metro Association of Realtors. Thank you for joining us, Nobu.
Happy to be here, Ashley. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. And Tim Dain, who is the VP and GM of MLS Services for REMINE. I'm going to do a little bit of a snippet for both of you, and then you can tell us all the wonderful things about yourself. But many of our guests might have already heard Nobu speak at Metrotex or through NAR, because you have worn a lot of hats, sir. Fellow realtor, not in a past life. I think your wife is still a top producing agent, so you still got your ear to the ground. You were the director of digital engagement for NAR, and now are the CEO of Denver Metro, correct?
Yeah, living the dream, as you just really put it out there. But yeah. I am 1,000% unemployable outside of real estate, as some of the Metrotex members that I know know about. But yeah, in Denver now. My wife operates a $100 million a year real estate team out of our Denver home office in Chicago. So it's crazy times at the Hata household right now.
That's good. That's what we're talking about. No sleep. Sleep is for the dead at this point. So,
Right.
and then Tim, you actually were kind of close by. You were the MLS director at the Austin board, but it was just too freaking hot, is what I heard.
Well, hot, and the first time I went out of town, my wife had to kill a rattlesnake with a poop scooper to keep it away from our dog. So, there's that too. I think there's a couple of states that are designed to kill you. Texas might be one of them, but I still love you, Texas.
Well, I appreciate, maybe that'll slow down the amount of activity of people coming into our state by that wonderful PR for us.
Actually, no, we really loved it. It was great. We enjoyed Austin. It was just time to come back home.
Yeah, no, I understand. So for many of our guests that are joining us now, this kind of came about because there's obviously COVID has brought so many forced technology changes to our world. But before then, we were already seeing a lot of, some will call disruption, others will say evolvement and implementation of things much needed to increase bandwidth. But it's a double-edged sword. And while we were kind of connecting and talking earlier, I think you guys kind of hit the nail on the head. So I'm going to let Nobu start off first and just give me a little bit of what you're seeing and on your side from the technology perspective.
Yeah, and maybe I'll take it from couple different perspectives, right? So, COVID in general, as you mentioned, Ashley, accelerated and amplified a lot of the change that was happening not only within real estate but outside of real estate in our society as well. I mean, look what has happened in a year in general, right? And when it comes to technology, and to me, I think this is the thing that I key off my wife on, is the things that made you and your client a little more friction-free, streamlined, that lend convenience, that save time, that save money. These are the things that right now that technology does best. And the best technology, as you can see with our clients, especially, they really embrace and ran with. I mean, how many of you guys had a Zoom account before COVID started, right? No one did. And now Zoom is a verb in two different ways, right? And Zoom is a noun in many ways than one, right? And it's that kind of stuff that really took hold. And I'm looking at the greater issues that are out there, and how my wife thinks about tech now, and how I think about it from the association point of view is, it's out industry tech that really took hold. The Amazon effect, as Tim knows, all the tech nerds talk about this stuff. The Amazon effect really took hold, and you're seeing in the numbers the biggest jump in sentiment when it came to buyers and sellers out there was that 86% of them now considered the one-stop shop Amazon type consumer effect in picking their agent, right? So it's not just about picking you, Ashley. It's your mortgage person, your title person, your lawyers, your inspectors, your roof guy, your plumber dude, how you market them online, how you market them on social media. That's the stuff that really took off. And I got to tell you, and even with my wife, how she's running a team now, fully quality control using technology for her team out of Denver, has been freaking amazing. So if you haven't learned something during your time sitting on, without pants on a Zoom in a Zoom meeting, you're probably doing this business wrong. And frankly, It's folks that have run with it and have made their businesses better, and then also learn from it to make the experience better for the consumers. Man, they're going to benefit and continue to benefit. So I realize you guys in Texas, you hate the Californians, but know that the number one buyer of the Texas real estate who aren't Texans, Californians, right? And man, is it crazy how using technology to bridge that gap.
And that's okay. I love my Californians. I've lived in California myself. So we embrace it and we welcome it. Otherwise, we'd be in trouble. But what I do like is that I think I've dropped the ball because I am not advertising my plumber dude well. I've got to change the vernacular when I put it on my site that I do have a plumber dude and I like it. So, but no, that's good. Tim, what about yourself? I mean, you've been around the block a few times from the other side, but heavy on the tech implementation, and trying to help our associations integrate that. What can you tell us?
Yeah, I think so. A couple of things. One, I think Nobu hit it on the head, right? There's a convenience factor. I think you used that word. If you didn't, I'm giving you credit for it, Nobu. But don't mishear that, right? The convenience, while real estate agents don't want to hear this, technology convenience is not for them. It's how convenient can you make it for the client? You can use it to streamline your own job. Associations and MLSs, I think, that's one of the reasons I'm invited there. They do a great job at licensing software, training software, providing it. But let's face it, anytime new technology comes around, MLSs aren't change management experts. Neither are associations. They're experts at doing what they do. There are people who specialize in change management. And as you all know, change is probably one of the more difficult things. So we can come to an MLS or an association with a better product, more mobile, more user-friendly, more data that has actionable intelligence around the noise of the data, right? Things you can act upon. But you have to pick it up and use it in your life. And our challenge is getting you there, because I can tell you, being on the vendor side of this, when we put a product in that we know is better technology, the conversation we're inevitably having a year from now is you have 10% users or 5% of the people use your product. So we don't have enough adoption. So now instead of the $1 we're giving you, we'd rather take that down to 50 cents. And that doesn't help R&D at all, right? In any company,
Right.
not just MLS companies. So when you start to think about the $1 you spend at an MLS or an association, let's take a hypothetical $20, right? If you're paying your association $20 a month, that goes to cover more than just the technology they're licensing you, right? I mean, you've got the tech investment, the service, the professionalism, you've got rent in there, you've got all of their staffing budget. And I'm not here to complain that they don't make enough money, but expecting them to innovate and pivot on a dime is something that's very hard, right? Especially in today's environment where you have sort of two main classes of users out there. If you look at all of the agents and all the brokers out there, you can put personifications on them like Sally Seller, Bob Buyer, tech-enabled Mark or whatever. But really, they boil down to two categories. They boil down to traditionalists and modernists, right? And the traditionalists are the people that come to the MLS or association. They say, don't change anything. Don't move a button. Don't change the color. If you do, I'm really pissed off. You just changed something on me. And the modernists are the people that come to us and they say, everything you have looks like it was built 10 or 15 years ago. It's not mobile. It's not working for me. Change everything. So you've got to be in an environment where you have to serve both those classes. And nobody makes one product that serves both, right? But both of those groups do say things like, I just want shit that works. Right. Yeah. So if you can find those things that if the consumer is delighted by them, the real estate agent becomes delighted by them, I think.
Well, and Tim, both of you guys have said this, and it's about the consumer, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what technology I use. If I don't have a client to utilize it with, it's moot. And so when you turn around, and this is something, it's a hot button for everybody, are the iBuyer programs. We've got a lot of companies that have come in that were from the tech vein that happened to just get into real estate. And I've always said this, it's because they saw a lane. They didn't decide after all their data and analytics and brain trust to say, hey, real estate's doing great, but maybe we can ruffle some feathers. No, what they were saying is there's a need in the marketplace. Realtors aren't naturally filling it, maybe we can come in here and grab a sharehold of the marketplace. And that's, everybody always blames it on a millennial. Oh, it's the millennials. They want an iBuyer program. They don't want to talk to anybody. They want to press a button. They don't want to, humanly interact, whatever. And it wasn't. It was actually a senior population that felt more inclined to use an all technology platform to sell their home because it removed friction. And I know we were joking, friction might be the word we keep on using tonight. So feel free to make a drinking game out of it. But that's the whole point, is at that stage of their life, they're going, I want to remove the friction and the stress. That's worth $1 to me. So they were doing that. But why are we not taking heed of that and then implementing that in our business, Nobu?
Yeah, and I think that is, I've been in this industry since my sophomore year in high school in 1993. And the lack of wherewithal regarding change is the one thing that alarms the living crap out of me when it comes to this business. And Tim's been at it from both ends as well and seen it. But I got to tell you, it's a systemic issue in the real estate world to not be able to change. And you got to look at the opportunities that technology is bringing you. In Denver's a really good example of that. Everyone and their mother has an iBuyer program there, including the traditional brokerages. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I've got 4 fintech companies that make your buyer a cash buyer. One of whom I'm actually talking to about being a member benefit for my association. These companies are, like you said, filling a need, but I think you need to look at the opportunities that are there, because what they're doing is sussing out the market for you. Because I remember being a realtor and having that cat pee house. Man, I don't want to put that thing on the market. And these are the same folks that are usually going to these iBuyers that want quick, convenient. But you know what we can do is learn from that, right? If you're not marketing certainty, if you're not marketing confidence, if you're not marketing all the clients that you made previously happy and putting them out in front and then talking about your services and using technology to widen the funnel and curate your leads rather than lead generate, you're doing this business wrong. And that is right now what the best, my wife included, agents, team leads, and brokerages are doing. Thinking media, thinking about curating and earning mind share and attracting business. And frankly, technology becomes a non-issue in a time when we are dealing with people buying brick and frickin' mortar, guys. We have to rest on the fact that 7 million people will buy a home this year, and all of it will happen offline at some point. Your job now is to use the best technology, the best marketing tools, the best everything to attract the type of people who want to do it with you sooner, right? And not be the lagging traditionalist, modernist, whatever you want to consider yourself, who gets business too late. The folks that are thriving right now are out there being proactive with tech, being proactive with marketing to help remove friction.
Okay.
Remove friction for that buyer. And that includes REMINE. And that's the thing. What I love about REMINE is that it is a business intelligence tool. And anytime you can derive intelligence and wisdom out of the data that your MLS is bringing you, you are winning. And frankly, I can't understand right now the fact that people don't use the stuff that are within their associations, within their brokerage ranks, that benefit their buyers and sellers now, rather than coming back later for it, because of frankly, the people that are killing it are leveraging that stuff first, adding to it with their through their brokerage and through their through all the other vendors that are out there, and are killing it based solely on their customer experience and client experience. Kill it, man.
And that's awesome. And that was a great segue, because Tim, I want you to talk about what REMINE's doing, because I think there's so many people that have never even hit your cool logo button on the Metro or the Netris dashboard. I for one have, but I do want to put this one plug real quick, is this is not all about making real estate all technology based. The goal is to still be able to create that one-on-one personal connection with our clients, but we're all running really low on bandwidth right now. I don't know about you, Nobu, but I'm sure your wife is pretty exhausted herself trying to manage a team. It's all over the country. We're working 80 hours a week right now. And so whatever I can do to, when a house comes on the market, increase the visibility for my clients, even though maybe they can't drop everything and run, I can use technology to help them facilitate looking at a home that they may wish to purchase. And so, I always brag on this. I love technology, but I also have a card carousel that's right behind my head over here, because I use technology to find that one-on-one personal connection. It's connectivity. So Sherry Fearbacher just piped in. Thank you for our first comment from our people that are tuning in. Technology is a tool, not a replacement. By the way, guys, Sherry is my mother. So, so my mother and business partner. And but it's right. She and I have bumped heads for a decade now, where I'm going, come on, we got to bring in more stuff. And she's like, but no, I still love my Mapsco. She's gonna kill me for that comment. But no, I mean, it's all about it. But you have to show the value. And Tim, I think that's what you do a really good job, is showing the value and articulating that to hopefully the end realtor user. So let's talk a little bit about the services that you guys have at REMINE.
Absolutely, but let me circle back one quick second, because I don't want to turn this into a total sales pitch, and just say that hearing Nobu talk, for whatever reason, my mind wandered to like Star Trek and the Borg, right? And I think, we can talk about disruption and technology and how it might displace agents, and it's true. The piece of pie for today's realtor is going to get smaller and smaller. But honestly, we have a few too many realtors in the business as it is, right? So it probably needs to get a little smaller. But I think the interesting note is that this industry's far better at assimilating disruptors than it is at being disrupted. So even if you look at the emerging iBuyers, they're becoming brokers. They're coming in, they're coming this way. They're taking these steps, and that's scary. I get it. But it's still interesting that they're being assimilated into our world versus us being assimilated into theirs. So just that mention. So REMINE's, it's awesome. I love it. It's why I ended up leaving an MLS executive job to go work at the company, because I think it's the one tool that brings a lot of hope and promise. I think it's unfortunate that we're about 5 years old. And when we launched, we really launched as like a prospecting tool, right? You could go in there quickly, and you can still do it today. You can quickly do a search to show every home in a certain geography that has $200,000 in equity, a higher than 4.5% mortgage rate, and have owned the home for more than 7 years, right? And you can start to narrow that audience down, pull that list out, make that your farming list, and go to town. You can identify cash buyers, and you can look at Airbnb type stuff or AirDNA and see short-term rental information. So it's really empowering with the amount of information that's in. And what we do is we mix the public records, the people records, and what I'd call place records, right? So a bunch of different data comes in. We mash it down into actionable intelligence, I guess is the best way to put it. But then further, we have all of the MLS data. So you don't have to leave one tool to go to another tool. You can look for the active listings, chat with another agent, do some research on who to prospect to, find buyers with a high enough buy score that looks like they might relocate, grab contact information out of there, and just go to town, right? So further than that, though, I think what a lot of people don't do is they don't really dive deep into the tools that associations MLSs give them, not just REMINE, but if you think of just our product, you could take your entire past business, put it into an Excel spreadsheet, upload it into REMINE, and we'll track all those properties for you. Something gets filed on a public record, and all of a sudden you see me and my wife, Tim Dain and Dana Dain, all of a sudden you see me pop up on a new mortgage over here at a different house. Think maybe it's time to follow up with your clients and see what's going on?
No,
right?
Actually, I think it's time to delete them from your sphere of influence. But keep on going, Tim. So, got to throw that one in there. Add them and delete them, right, Nobu? I mean, got to do both.
Database management.
It's so true. I mean, I could go through all the tools as MLSs we license, whether they're showing services, the base MLS system, a mobile app, you name it. There's probably 10 tools at MetroTex and Netris that you guys utilize. And I'm willing to bet that most of the agents use 15% of the functionality in any tool that's not their core MLS, and that'd be high.
So you are absolutely right. And Alan Smith, who is one of my awesome fellow board of directors, he said, I think when the market slows down, we take classes to learn this technology. Alan, we actually have a couple of classes, I think every couple of months or so, that we are still teaching on this. And it's absolutely amazing. I remember every time there's a new button on the dashboard, I always want to see, because we brought our entire office to MetroTex, even though it wasn't the closest association to it, because MetroTex was always on the forefront of trying to bring more value to their members. And that was important. So anytime they brought something, I was going, okay, got to check it out. And that was, I think, was so neat, because I didn't use the full functionality, but I really liked being able to get like actual proper data. And sometimes it was just, I actually cross-referenced after somebody called me from a referral. I'm still all referral based. I don't use technology lead gen or anything else like that, but I use it to cross-reference and help me. And so if somebody calls me, I might go on Remine and go in there and look at some more data points, just so I can be well versed and I know what I'm doing when I'm talking to them. So I think there's just so many things from a very basic level to then a high functioning level that your platform can do for us.
Well, I thank you for that. I think, to Alan's point too, I think one thing we all can learn, whether it's REMINE or the association or any of the other vendors that might tune into this, is that, Alan, we shouldn't have to wait for a market to slow down in order to learn, right? The beauty of today's world, like when I want to know how to change a trash compactor, I'm making that up, I just go to YouTube and I click change trash compactor and I see what video pops up. Typically it's a 1 or 2 minute clip. I watch it. I got it. Good. I grab a wrench and I do it. Probably not me. That's not me, but you get my point. I think if we took the time to break everything down into bite-sizable chunks and made them findable, people would come and they would learn in bits and pieces. We too often expect people to sit in a 1 or a 2 hour or hell, an all day class about technology that should be a lot simpler to use.
I'll add to that too. And I think this is something that is another epidemic within this industry. It's a shiny toy object syndrome that we all tend to have. And it is imperative now that if you're an agent, team leader, a broker owner, is to start getting into good habits. And what I did when I was an agent, and frankly, I lather, if I can use that word,
I like
about about the stuff that my wife uses that wasn't available when I stopped selling real estate in 2012. That was not that long ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think about that. But what I did when I was an agent and when I was running my team was I quarterly I looked at the tech and marketing, everything that I was doing, and determined that ROI. What sucked? What did not work? What doesn't have a track record of working? And stop using it. What I love about REMINE, by the way, like if anybody's ever met Leo, the CEO, right? He former realtor. The dude knows what he's talking about, right? When it comes to his tech, is that you've got to use the things that derive wisdom and intelligence from the data that's out there, because everybody has access to data now. I don't have daily access to the MLS anymore, but I have every bit of the access to the information and data that's there. And your job, even in a state like yours, where it's non-disclosure and all that other stuff that you think is going to protect you, I still have access to that information and what I think is important. And your job now, as an agent, broker, realtor, whatever the hell you want to talk about yourself as, is to help me make a really good freaking decision. And the thing about Texas that I love, and I'm looking at it from an outsider, Texas has got every freaking thing that I could possibly want in a lifestyle, right? Yet I don't know it. And that is an opportunity for folks like you, Ashley, anyone who's listening, to really do the things that technology cannot do. As your mother mentioned, technology is a tool, and the people who use tools better now are going to be thriving going forward. And think about what matters now and constantly audit yourself and be upfront with the shit that you are not good at, right? And figure out what fills that void.
Now you've earned brownie points because you referenced Sherry again, so that'll be good. And I appreciate that, because I've already thrown some lies out there about her. But the flip of that is you brought up a good point, and this is what I heard. I'm still hearing people complain that we sold out and the data integration and syndication is just blasphemy. It is the crippling effect of our real estate industry. Well, guess what? It's happened. It's done. he who holds the data does not only hold the keys to the kingdom, they hold opportunities. And so that's what realtors thought they were. We had the data, we could open a door, then we're the gatekeeper. Well, that type of old mindset is the reason why so many people have been evolved and then outsourced, because they didn't realize that we have so much probative value, Nobu. Like you were saying, there's so many other things. When we have people relocating to Texas at exponential rates because we are the great state of Texas. You know, I'm not a native Texan, but I got here fast enough, according to my husband. You know, we have these tools to help people assimilate to a completely new lifestyle. Why don't we help them do that? Because it's not just about a house or an asset. It's about your livelihood. It's about your home. It's assimilating to a new culture, a new environment. And those are things that we can do. That an automated system, while you can go on Yelp and travel sites and different things like that, it can't curate a personal response and give them all of the baseline knowledge that we have from being here and being the boots on the ground. And so just adapting to that and using it for good and not evil. That's what I have to always tell Sherry, because you know, she thought this was going to be, you know, the tool of the devil. Everything's in this little computer, you know, and everything else. But at the end of the day, it allows me to be so much more present if I use it effectively. And I think that's the difference. And people get paralyzed, Tim, when you do these 1 or 2 hour classes on the technology, because they don't even know where to start.
They absolutely do. And that's why we should be breaking it down into the bite-sized chunks and make it searchable. But I want to pick up on something else you said about, you know, the fact that we kind of enabled, and I'll throw names out there because I actually love the companies. I use their sites and I have a lot of friends there. But I mean, if you look at a Zillow, yeah, we built it. I mean, real estate agents, brokers, MLSs, everybody had a hand in helping them aggregate a national data set. And it's still amazing to me. And I'm going to give some credit to my friend Cameron Payne, who will say real estate is local, but real estate data is global. And unfortunately, MLSs and brokerages haven't woken up to that fact, because we won't share it on our side of the business, but we'll happily share it with people that aggregate it and build empires out of it, right? So, and what I mean by that is, like, if you just take Texas, and I have some friends that will call me and kill me for saying this, but I still am in awe of the fact that you can't go from HAR to Dallas to Austin to San Antonio and see each other's data, right? See each other's listings. And that's just Texas. We should have that more globally. Even RPR, which is funded by NAR member dues, you can't see other MLS's listings in there. You can only see your MLS's listings. So we put all these rules, all these constraints, and it's a bit taboo to talk about. And I'm not going to pretend that I have a solution here, but we put all the constraints on ourselves and no constraints on the people whose empires we helped build, right? And so we need to reel some of that back.
Some of that is because we want to play defense instead of offense, and then we have a scarcity mindset instead of a mindset of abundance. And that's really hard. When you're always playing from being guarded, it's hard to then say, I'm going to open up the flood. Let's go on the offense. And at the end of the day, it's still a much better life, because you know what? There are a lot of realtors out there, Tim. I welcome the opportunity to dance toe to toe. And like you said, I want amazing realtors out there with me doing business, but maybe some don't need to be in the business because they didn't get in to be consumer centric. They got in because they thought they would be able to make a quick buck. Well, it's difficult. It's difficult to be a realtor because we need to do more than just facilitating data, and that has forced us to do it.
Yeah.
You know, well, one of the things that, you know, speaking of the Oregon Realtors Leadership Academy, I'm here in the middle of nowhere in Oregon right now. Yeah, and I would challenge you, you know, as leaders, right, to replace yourself, to figure out a coalition of folks who can move forward, figure out what rules can be re-envisioned. You know, one of the things that I think about when I'm in Denver is that the #1 website that should have real estate on it that gets millions of hits a month is the Visit Colorado Visitors Bureau website. And then why aren't we sharing data with those guys? Can you imagine having a visit, ski, live, work element to that? I mean, you know, yeah, there are rules, but frankly, at this point, think about what you want data to look like and be housed in over the 10 years from now. What can we build? What partnerships can we build? We're a relationship organization. Why couldn't we go out and do something really cool with folks out industry, right? And really localize this data and add it to the experience that consumers are demanding right now, right? I as a real estate consumer, I can tell you everything about what sucks about the real estate transaction is front and center to me. I've bought and sold 3 homes since I became a non-realtor, and it freaking sucks. You know, there's a lot of other things to work on right now that technology could solve if we partner correctly. And as Tim mentioned, as most of these folks go back into the real estate world, you know, the thing that I'm preparing for is that there are going to be far more realtors and brokers going forward that sell us leads than there will be folks that sell real estate, because there is a bona fide business model of give me 45% of what I refer to you because you can't do it your damn self, right? That needs to change. That scarcity mindset is something that you're exactly right about. It needs to change right now.
Well, you got to burn the boats. And that's when, you know, when we talk to people that potentially want to get their real estate license, you know, and do that, the first thing I say are, one, you know, why do you want to explore getting your real estate license? Well, I love looking at homes. Great. That's always number one. I love the flexible schedule. And I always respond with, do you like to be flexible like a pretzel? Because that's the kind of flexibility that you get. You're all twisted and everything else. Yes, I get to dictate my time and time block appropriately, but I work a lot more hours than I was in a 9-to-5 job. But the flip of that is making sure that people understand what we're truly doing out there. And you've got to burn your boats to make a true run at being a realtor. And most people have one foot in and one foot out when they enter this industry because they really don't believe in themselves. So you went back to confidence building and marketing that confidence. So if you don't believe in yourself, how are you marketing to the consumer to use you to buy or sell the largest asset of their entire life? That is mind-boggling to me.
Absolutely.
Can I address Alan's national MLS thing, because I don't want to be misheard here. So Alan and everybody else, I am not arguing for national MLS. I'm not even debating it. What I'm saying though is that there shouldn't be restrictions on the data that we share and the data that you guys can access. Just like every you know, you think of all the stores that pop up, there are reasons that there's not one T-Mobile store in the nation, right? You need local service centers. You need boots on the ground. You need in-person training. You need a place to go when you have an issue. You need somebody to call. You need support centers. A national MLS could be good, but I'm not even saying we need to go there. What I'm saying is we need to lift the gates on the data we share and not be so tied to our historic ways of making sure that the 10,000 member MLS that sits next to the 500 member MLS don't have such disparity just in the information they can utilize to service consumers. Doesn't mean they have to merge. There may be very valid reasons for each of them to exist, but there should be something approaching a national database. Maybe it's more regional databases or data centers. So separating service from the information that you can access as a realtor to do your job is more of what I advocate for.
Yeah,
I think, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I mean, imagine having a data pool so that teaming up with a state visitors bureau, the Texas Visitors Bureau, is easy to do going down in the future. So you're not talking to 3,500 different MLSs as a business owner trying to facilitate that. Just imagine being able to use that tool, maybe not for real estate, but for data sharing. Now's the time to re-envision it. You got so much happening right now. Like, I think CoStar is going to change a lot of the things that we are thinking about right now and start burning a lot of these boats that you mentioned, Ashley.
Yeah, well, and Texas is actually a great example because you have the Texas Data Real Estate Center. I forget the name of it, but Texas A&M does something with market statistics, right? So that's every MLS's data in the state of Texas that's utilized to power a service that benefits everyone in Texas. Every single realtor in Texas benefits from that service.
And you know what's amazing about that, Tim, is going back to, you know, this has been a long time coming, even pre-COVID, but what COVID changed was people are now permanently working from home, not even temporarily. They're permanently working from home. And so more than any other time in my career, and I'm almost spanning 2 decades myself, is people are saying, I want to be lifestyle house centric. I don't have an area specificity. We've got people that aren't even looking at school systems anymore because maybe they've decided to stay in a homeschool or a hybrid version or something else like that. So now I have people that say, hey, 100 miles of this pin dot, that's where I'm okay with, but these are the things that I want to see. And that was really difficult because I've had two recent clients, one that was a relocation buyer from Arizona, and they were like, we travel. The one is a pharmaceutical sales rep, so he's boots on the ground anyways, and just said, I just need to be in a proximity of an airport. And we literally traveled 7 different counties. And at one point they said, we might even consider Waco because his territory is also in Austin and Houston. And they drove to Waco themselves and they said, can you still help us? And I said, unfortunately not. I said, my reach is beyond there. I still feel like I have the ability to be a proper fiduciary in Waco, but unfortunately I'm restricted. And so, and I just said, go and take a look and I will find a stellar agent if you guys decide to look in Waco. They stopped because of the 35 construction. And I knew that probably was going to be the case. So I was good there. But I mean, places that are literally within a 90-minute drive and have car will travel, I'll do real estate that way as long as I feel like I can adequately represent the client in the transaction and do my due diligence appropriately. And I have felt very hampered here recently with this very aggressive, low inventory, high demand market to be able to actually facilitate what my clients truly need from me. And they don't want 3 different agents. They want me.
Yep.
So, you know, that's super important to make sure that I can continue to facilitate that. And I think both of what you guys are talking about would allow us to be able to do it.
Oh, and I want to add to that too. I think the best thing about technology now is that it allows for that. And one of the beautiful, I'm going to tell you, I love Texas. I love going there. I'm weird like Austin. I love eating the random seafood and chicken fried steaks in Houston. I love all that stuff. But I got to tell you, the state is so big. It's got so many different micro markets within it. One of the best ways you can use technology right now is to build a really good sphere of realtors, brokers, team leaders, whatever, to facilitate business, share content. Yeah. You know what sellers need right now more than anything is a freaking exit strategy. And right now, I got to think that Texas is a lot like Colorado. People are priced out of Denver. They're working now from home, and like I just can I go live in the mountains? Can I go live in Durango? Can I go live in Alamosa? I'm like, yeah, dude, go. There's no traffic anymore, right?
Yeah.
So let me help you with that. I know 25 realtors who can help you out with that kind of thing. And if you're not using tech to at least build a core group of folks that are like you across the state, man, do it, right? Because it's worth it and worth your while.
Well, and that's the whole thing. We still have to know our limitations. And like Sherry Fierbacher said again, amen, don't handcuff a good agent. But not every agent is a good one. And so at some time you need to know your limitations. And I've got great co-leadership people in the association on this panel right now. Cindy Bass, Alan Smith, Sherry Fierbacher. They're all leaders in MetroTex, but we all talk. None of us are competitors. We're partners in this business. We all have our different desired niche and everything else. But I can call any one of them tomorrow and say, hey, I've got a client in this marketplace. Can I bend your ear a little bit? Because I'm a little confused about this. To know that I can still properly facilitate a transaction for my client if they want to expand their area or their territory a little bit. That, again, is the problem when they have that scarcity mindset. No, I can't call Cindy Bass, even though she might be a great resource for me, because what if she tries to steal my client? Well, if you you do your business based on trust and respect, they're not going anywhere. It's like you were talking about, Nobu. The iBuyers have done us a favor because the people that devalued what we do in the first place then went away. We didn't have to sit there and worry about them not actually wanting to respect our business process or anything else. They actually did us a favor. So, it's that mindset that if we can ingrain in our local associations and then from a statewide and a national level, but I don't know what the answer is beyond, we started on the technology adoption and we've gotten into so many other things. But I mean, do either one of you guys have from a local perspective of working in an MLS and you obviously being a CEO of an association, what can we do to change that mindset?
I think the conversations have to start unfortunately, with the people that have the most political bent, right? It has to be the boards of the MLSs and the associations that decide to lay down their differences. And as I said earlier, you don't have to merge. You have to agree to things like native shares of data, or like REMINE offers more than just the REMINE Pro product you guys have. I think Netris is actually licensing our ad edit. Think of that, right? Just take the listing maintenance, the ad edit piece out of an MLS, out of a proper MLS system, make it its own standalone, fully mobile, full featured system in and of its own, and then put that same ad edit in every MLS in a state. Now, if a realtor belongs to more than one MLS, they can add a listing one time and tell it where to go. And if you build it on the proper API infrastructure, a brokerage can take that. And if they have a back-end system like from Realty or KW, they can actually utilize that API to submit the listing to their back-end systems too. So technology can do wonders. But to say where to start, we have to start by realizing that data protectionism, that, as my friend Camera says, real estate might be local, but the data we utilize to list those homes is global now. So find ways to share it. Start with a statewide data share, not a statewide MLS, because it will effectively give you the same thing, right? It just, you get to choose which MLS to belong to. Then you put us in true competition with each other. Right now, MLSs don't really compete. There's like this faux competition, because if you don't have the data, you can't compete for the member. So if you want better member services, put them in a position to compete. You guys have all the power. You sit on all the boards. It's not us. We do what you tell us. We're here to facilitate your livelihood.
Yeah, and I think on top of that, and seeing it from both the realtor point of view, the NAR guy point of view, and then now running an 8,000 member board, it's a cultural issue. And you need folks in the room that can help you think 10 years out, so that you're acting every year in order to get to that goal. What has helped me is I brought in folks from outside the industry, right, in an advisor role. Again, I'm pretty lucky, and I look at Texas almost the same way. Google's got a big presence in the Denver area. Facebook's got an office there. There are a ton of fintech companies, so financial companies who we're dealing with three of those guys now. Again, Accept and Orchard, who turn you into cash buyer. Bring those people in. Bring those people into your tent. Go out when you can. Have lunch with them. Talk about what data means to them, and really create a culture of change that needs to happen with people who may not understand this stuff, but need to at least have consensus in order to get change happening, rolling, and get off of the fact that change for so many, and as Tim knows, 3 years to make a decision on something, and then about fourth year they did it, and they're like, yes, everything is cool. Meanwhile, you've wasted 4 years. Everything that you've just decided